Hey everyone, and welcome back to Coffee with Founders. We have Julian Perez with us today. He's part of the Economic Development Department of Coral Gables. So Julian, thank you so much for making the time and being here with us today.
It's truly a pleasure to be with you and to be with a member of our family in our business community. And it's always a pleasure, especially talking to young entrepreneurs and people that are making a difference in our community. And
Awesome.
we're very, very happy to be part of any of your events, myself as well as my staff. And I really look forward to this interview.
Thank you so much. And how about we start with a little bit of your background? How did you get into the economic development in the City of Coral Gables?
Well, my background is very lengthy. I have close to 40 years of experience. And I'll start with my academic background. I hold master's degrees in international economic development through the international program over at FSU. And also I have a master's degree in urban and regional planning. I have been practicing both crafts or professions now for almost 40 years as a planning director in a number of cities and economic development director also. And in the private sector, I was very, very much involved in infrastructure development and redevelopment, and work on several very important projects here in Miami-Dade County, such as the development agreement order for Miami International Airport, the $5.3 billion capital improvement program, the project book for the new runway. That's the runway that runs parallel to Northwest 36th Street. I was also one of the leading professionals in the development of the brownfield program back in the 1990s, that today is a very successful program where we turned properties that are contaminated into properties that are now developable and become an economic engine. And we see a lot of those properties through Miami-Dade County that at one time no one wanted to touch, but today now it's been redeveloped and created hundreds of jobs and millions of dollars in economic return, whether it's direct or indirect. So it's kind of a professional track that has been very multidisciplinary. And I think I tell people that the only thing that I've not done is ports, and basically done everything except that. And I also now serve as an adjunct professor at FIU, where he's city planning and then other courses related to development and economic development at the graduate level.
Oh, that's so good. Well, thanks for sharing that. Now we have a better idea. And we would like to learn a little bit more about the department itself, the Economic Development Department. Tell us a little bit about the resources that you guys offer for small businesses and local businesses in the area, maybe software, support systems, data, information. Tell us a little bit about that.
Right. The department is a multidisciplinary department. The department is truly an economic development department. And what do I mean by that? Is that we are focused in every aspect that has an impact in our business community, whether it's the small business, whether it's the large businesses, the new businesses that are coming to the area, having to do with wealth management, financial, technology, and obviously we also have a component which is the asset management. But the most important thing is that we have a group of professionals that are very experienced. Some of them have been here for many years, and those folks are working very, very closely with different segments of the economy. For example, I have Francesca Valdez, who works directly with the retails, the restaurants, and she's a tremendous asset, very, very knowledgeable, and she works directly with these establishments. Then I have Leticia Perez, who works directly with the consulates. We have over 20 consulates here in the city of Coral Gables, which is very, very important. And also our multinational businesses. So she has been working with them very, very closely throughout the pandemic and prior to the pandemic. And she's a tremendous asset. Very experienced person, used to work for Baptist for many years. Then I have Belkis Perez, who you know, the assistant director, who has been with the city for many, many years, a tremendous professional, and someone that works very closely with the technology. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. She also works very closely with the existing businesses as well as the new businesses that are coming to the area. But most important, with the integration of technology into economic development. That was something that we learned right away when the pandemic started. We put out a business assessment, a survey, and one of the things that we found out that our small businesses were not really up to speed with the technology, or either had the know-hows to use the existing technology to help them communicate with their clients as well as their suppliers. And thanks God that we didn't have an interruption in the supply chain. If that would have been the case, then we would have had a very difficult time recovering from this unfortunate pandemic. Because remember that the pandemic had an impact at the macro level, macroeconomic level, in both the demand and supply side of our economy. It was not like typically you have an impact in either supply or either an impact in the demand side. This was an impact in both sides of the curve. And so we were very blessed that we were able to maintain the supply. So she has been working very, very carefully with, I think since the beginning, with our business community, even during the COVID period, making sure that we had workshops and making sure that we were getting that information out, that we were starting the education. And we did that with our partners, who I am so thankful. I am so deeply indebted to them because they were so good. They were so gracious, starting with the chamber, Mr. Mark Trowich, also Ara Reinhardt with a bid, Mary Snow with the foundation, our partners in Silicon Valley, our partners in the University of Miami, Dr. Slesnik, and the Google team, and obviously our IT director, Raimundo, who has been, tremendous. This is probably the best kept secret that we have here in the city of Coral Gables. He's the one that's making it happen, making this transition from the technology to economic development. So all of these folks work together during the pandemic, and we're still working together as we speak. I think that you're part of one of the programs that we have with our three partners, trying to get the technology out to our small businesses, and having all of these workshops. We really need to work very, very hard. If there's something that we learned from this pandemic, is that we really need to get our business community, especially our small business community, up to speed with the technology. Why? Because this is not the last time that we're going to see a crisis, or this is not the last time that we'll see a disaster. So we need to make sure that when that happens, that our business community, especially our small business community, are resilient. And we can make the switch very, very quickly, and be able to continue with our business activities as is, or as usual. So that is the team, and the team is working not only on the economic front, but is also working on the technology, on attraction, retention, and obviously remember that we also have a number of programs that we work on in the arts too, because remember the pandemic itself, and this is very important that we know this. There are three phases to this pandemic. The first is the health crisis. The second one is the economic crisis. And the third is the mental aspect crisis of the pandemic. So the art itself and all of the exhibits that we have had, especially Illuminate Coral Gables and all that, that is what we see as activities that will help us with the mental aspect, getting people to come out, getting people to enjoy life like they used to again, and bringing people back to what it was to COVID with some modification. Yeah. And remember, do all of this in a way that is responsible, safe, and smart. All right.
That's awesome.
Very important, because we want to do all of this, but we want to make sure that we're doing it responsibly, safe, and smart.
Perfect. And I agree with you. I think during the pandemic, I mean, it's been a shift from especially small businesses to implement technology through, a lot of businesses that didn't have a website, a lot of businesses that didn't have social media platforms and everything to share with their clients and customers. But when you're talking about implementing from the Department of Economic Development in the city, helping small businesses implement this technology, what specific steps are you taking to help them, from people that are not sure what you're talking about of technology, how can they actually reach out and how can they actually benefit from this? Or what are the things that they're getting in return from this technology?
Yes, your question has two parts. I think part number one is the educational side of it. And the educational side of it is the workshops that we're having.
Mhm.
That is a series of workshops with Dr. Rashnick, University of Miami, as well as our partners in Silicon Valley and Google. So we have had a series already of like about 3 or 4 workshops, and where people can participate and they can see how this technology works from the Google's perspective, okay? From the cybersecurity perspective, from how to access this technology and what's out there for you, University of Miami, and the cybersecurity from Silicon Valley and our team here. So we have already started that. In addition to that, we have a program with Common Soul, and basically we're giving out licenses for 1 year free, where you can access the platform that Common Soul has, and there are several things that they offer you. Number one is, your business gets advertised through many different platforms. So now here's a small local business that was only locally. Now we're taking this internationally. I mean, it's endless, the opportunity. And on top of that, there's a component that is virtual too. So someone can come in through your computer, they can see all your store and they can shop. All right. So that's the educational, that's the product that we're offering. And obviously, the most important thing is that we're continuing the education as we move forward. As a result of a new partnership that we signed with Google, to constantly be able to bring this out to the small business. And by the way, it's open to everybody, not the small business. So I think that the most important thing is that we continue to build in what we started. And I remember that at the beginning, Mayor Valdez-Foley, as well as the rest of the commission, including our mayor, Mayor Lagos, always told us, make sure that something good comes out of this. Out of all the bad, make sure that something good comes out of it. And that's what we did. We went out, we did everything that we had to do in the different phases that I just mentioned to you, and did it very, very successfully. And I have to really applaud the work of the rest of the team, our manager, Mr. Iglesia, our assistant city managers, Santa Maria, our chief of police, Mr. Hudak, as well as our EOC director, our fire chief, Marcos, who did just a tremendous job.
That is awesome. That is awesome. And I think across the United States, we're seeing an increase on commercial spaces for lease. There is a lot of empty spaces now. And, in Florida, we're seeing a little of a growth in population and actually sometimes seeing the opposite. What are you, when in terms of an entrepreneur and someone that wants to open a new business and they're thinking, well, should I go to Coral Gables? Should I go to Miami? Should I go to Doral? What is the City of Coral Gables? What did you guys change pre-COVID and now post-COVID that helps businesses or entrepreneurs make a decision like, yes, Coral Gables is the city where we should open our business. We should go there. What are the incentives? What are the benefits? What are changes on any permits or requirements? Are you more flexible on some things? Are you helping businesses in some other ways? What's happening in terms of that thing?
That's a very good question. And I can tell you, first of all, that we lost a number of businesses, and that was very unfortunate. But I can tell you one thing, that even in the middle of the pandemic, we were also bringing in new businesses to our community. During the middle of the pandemic, a number of businesses opened their doors. Why? Because they believed in Coral Gables. Why? Because it is a very stable place, okay? And then all of the amenities that we offered. We are truly a planned community based on the City Beautiful principle of the late 1800s, early 1900s, all right? We do have one of the best planned communities in the state of Florida. And there's only a few of them with a history that we in Coral Gables have. That's number one. Number two, I think that the proximity to our airport, seaport, and other major county infrastructure is a plus. Mm-hmm. The fact that we have a trolley system that can take us all around the city in the Central Business District, all the way to the Metro Rail that puts you in downtown Miami within a few minutes is also a plus. I think the other thing that is extremely important is that what we're doing in terms of technology, the integration of technology into economic development, the development of a technological corridor that we're working on right now. Those are things that are very important to companies that are looking at relocating here in Coral Gables, especially those in the technology. The other thing that we offer too is a city that is extremely well planned. You know, that sometimes we kind of complain about the process itself, that it takes long, that all of this. But you know what? At the end of the day, look at the products in terms of the developments that are done here in Coral Gables. Very, very beautiful buildings. You know, buildings that have done with, you could see with a tremendous amount of respect to our culture, respect to our vision that we have for our future growth. And now I'm speaking to you as a certified planner, and one that is very, very sensitive, okay, to existing businesses as well as future businesses and the community and the people that visit our city. And when people come and see that right away, you know, says, wait a second, you know, this is something that really, really reflects what a planned community is all about. And another thing that I've heard a lot from new businesses locating is the fact that we're very clean. We keep our city very, very clean. We stay up with our infrastructure. And then finally, I would say that it's a city that is managed close to perfect financially. We have AAA ratings, and that's only a few cities in the state of Florida that have that, from Moody and other financial houses. So when you look at all of that, then you say, wait a second, you know, these people are doing it. They're attracting businesses. They're doing it in a step-by-step basis and very well planned. So that's the planning aspect, okay, and the economic. Now, let's talk a little bit about the permitting process. Mm-hmm. One of the things that we have done here, the department is that we work very closely with the new businesses or existing businesses. And then we work with them, we sit down with them, we explain to them the process. One of the great benefits that new businesses coming to Coral Gables have and coming through our office is that I have more than 15 years of being a planning director in several other communities. And I spent the last 6 years in the city of Doral, where I reviewed and approved a lot of all the development that you see in the city of Doral, especially downtown Doral. And so, you know, I understand how the planning works in the state of Florida. I'm very familiar with all of the chapters, chapter 163, chapter 380, and all that. And that's something that is available and is free for these folks that come here that are doing their due diligence. In addition to that, we work very closely with the manager's office and Tony Siglio, and then also with the planning and permitting group. So we all work together as one team to help you through the process. The most important thing for a developer or for someone that comes to a community, all right, from the outside, is to minimize the uncertainties. All right, that is what really, really kills a project, is the uncertainties. And then, you know, going to the planning department 3 or 4 times, or going through building 3 or 4 times, and not knowing what, you know, the process that you're dealing with. So so that is what we're doing to avoid or minimize the amount of uncertainty. And one of the things that I tell the developer or the owners of the project is stay with the process, stay close to the process, so that you understand step by step what we need to do to go through it as quickly as possible and minimize all of the hard times that you typically go through, and make sure that we make it into something that is efficient and cost effective.
For sure. And I think that's something that we have experienced personally, because we are going through the permitting process, and we've seen that by just being close to the process and understanding and meeting with people and asking the right questions, you really get to understand the process itself, everything that you have to do step by step, and that really makes a difference. So I totally agree with you, and I appreciate you sharing that. You mentioned something, Julian. You mentioned financial stability as one of the reasons why people want to go to Coral Gables, and I definitely agree with that. And I want to get a little bit more in depth. You guys developed a program during COVID where you helped a specific number of businesses, and they had to go through an application. I want to know a little bit more about what was the final result, how many businesses you helped at the end, and was there any learning lesson? Was there anything that you guys realized that the businesses weren't ready, that they weren't doing, that they should do moving forward? Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Yes, absolutely. Excellent question. What we did was, one of our action items, what we did, let me backtrack. What we did was, at the beginning of the pandemic, we developed a process of how we were going to transition from the crisis to the economic recovery. All right. And in that, we developed a series of models based on a series of variables at the time, and especially, you know, the health policies, the financial assistance, how well was the city reacting to that early phase? How could we relax the regulations in order to begin to help businesses, especially the restaurants that were getting hit the hardest, and the retail, all right? And then finally, put together a program of containment, all right? So based on those 5 variables, then we were able to develop a model that helped us guide us through the process. Because remember, our plan has always been strategic and methodical. In other words, is focusing on the things that we needed to do to get us from point A to point B, point C, and done very, very methodical. We did not at any point in this process, you know, kind of got nervous, or we ran all around. No. Everything was done in phases or tiers. We have tier 1, that it was about communication, coordination, and cooperation. Why? Because we needed to make sure that we got all of the information out to the business community as quickly as possible. We needed to make sure that we were all communicating at the same time. Right. And a lot of that was done by the chamber through a series of workshops and meetings and so forth that we participated with them, as well as the bid. Mm-hmm. We also knew that after that tier 1 was completed, we had to go into tier 2, which was at this point the beginning transitioning from the crisis to the economic recovery. And here we had the mitigation part of it, the recovery and prevention. And we're right now in the recovery and mitigation. Okay, so in that phase, what we did was we worked very, very closely with the county. We worked very closely, with all of the entities in Miami-Dade County, like the Beacon Council. We worked very closely with them. Also, the Miami-Dade County Chamber, we participating in a lot of the workshops with the state and so forth. And since the municipalities were not being assisted directly, okay, under the CARES Act, all right, we needed to continually look for those financial assistance in other places. Yeah. Remember, there was no assistance for local government. Then later on, my mind serves me correctly, Title V of the CARES Act had some money set aside for local governments, local unit of government with 500,000 or more population. Mm-hmm. And that only qualified just a number, a very small number of local units of government in the state of Florida. Yes. Okay, including Miami-Dade County. So Miami-Dade County was able to get some money. I think it was over $475 million, if my mind serves me correctly, around that number. And when they got that money, that allocation, they set aside a certain amount of money. I think it was about, in total, it's $100 million, okay? And out of that, $75 million, if my mind serves me correctly, or 75, I think it was used to assist the municipalities, mm-hmm. Okay? And so we went ahead and we drafted a proposal, the department did. We submitted the proposal, and that was a proposal for $850,000. Of that, $800,000 was going to be used for grant assistance to businesses, small businesses in the city of Coral Gables. Mm-hmm. And it was on a first come, first serve complete application, $800,000. The rest was used to develop the technology program and all the workshops that we had and so forth, and Common Soul. All right, as a result of that, of the grant program, we received close to 150 applications. And unfortunately, we were only able to fund 60 applications, 60. And so the grant was up to 15,000. So we had some folks that received 15,000, others received less, and so forth. But the total was 800,000 plus. And that really helped a number of small businesses, especially restaurants. And so that grant really helped a number of restaurants that were able to meet the requirements that were set by the federal government. All right, and remember that this grant was not something that was coming. The money was coming through HUD or FEMA. This money was coming through the Department of Treasury. Yeah. And Treasury is very, very strict as to how you distribute the funds. So there was a number of requirements that you had to meet. So one of the things that we did here, we did everything. We did not hire consultants to help us out. We didn't hire extra people. The money was not given to the county. That meant that every single penny that we received, every single penny was given to the business community. To those businesses. Including all of our effort that was in kind. And that effort was probably, we had a number of people working. I would say that if you start adding up, it was probably more than $50,000 that the city spent towards, helping the business community in in-kind contributions. We had people here working, through Thanksgiving holiday to make sure that we were meeting the requirements, because we were only given like 5 weeks to do all of this.
Julian, you were talking about those 60 companies that received the funds after they did the application. they went through the process with you. I'm interested to, in learning a little bit more about those other companies that were not able to get the funds. You were sharing with us a little bit more insight. You were telling us that you found that some of the companies were not ready. They did not have all the information at hand. And I think this is a great opportunity to tell them and share with them some recommendations for the future in case of another crisis, or just as a recommendation in general of the things that you saw they should have and they didn't, and unfortunately they weren't able to take advantage of this financial assistance from you guys.
It was heartbreaking when we had a company that had submitted all the paperwork and everything, and then they couldn't produce the information that was required. And there were several of them that were disqualified. And that really, broke my heart because they just didn't have all of the paperwork up to date, especially the returns. Some of them just, were not really keeping up with their paperwork, which is very, very important. And that's one thing that I learned, that really, you really need to have all of your paperwork in order. You need to be up to date. I know that your focus is making sure that your business is working properly, and know that that some of you folks work on a day to day, week to week, month to month. But it is very important that when you have a business, that you have all of the paperwork associated with that business up to date, because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And if we have another experience like this, which I hope we never do, that you have all of that in place. Your record keeping is extremely important. And those were some of the things that I noticed. It was the record keeping, and making sure that you have all your licenses. That's very, very important. You're up to date with your business tax receipt, that you're up to date with your certificate of use. Those are things that we tend to forget, but those are very important. And that, all the approvals that were given to you by the city or the county, please keep all of that together, so that, this doesn't become an issue.
Yeah. And it seems that those are obvious things, but we tend to forget, and we take them for granted because sometimes it's boring, sometimes, and as a small business owner, you don't have that many employees and you don't have that many people to take care of everything. And sometimes you get caught up in the day-to-day operations that you forget those little details that are very important. And Julian, now that we're talking about the recovery phase, and we're seeing this growth in Florida now. We're seeing, it's basically we're back to open. What are you seeing in the last couple of months in the city of Coral Gables? Like, how are the businesses growing? How is the population growing? What's happening in the economic side of Coral Gables in the past couple of months?
Again, very good question. Let me start by saying that the City of Coral Gables retail occupancy is already at 97.2%, right?
That is great.
The Miracle Mile occupancy is 88.6. Yes, you see a lot of empty store, but some of them are now already going through leasing negotiations and so forth. We expect to have, by the end of the summer, more than 50 new businesses coming to our city. We have had a number of major businesses relocating to our city. Some, I don't even know about it because they go through brokers and so forth. And so we're working very hard to make sure that we keep track of all of them. We have seen I would say in the wealth management, we have seen a number of companies moving to Coral Gables. On the development side, we have a number of companies also here in Coral Gables and already engaged in Coral Gables. During the pandemic, Friesland Company USA, one of the world's biggest dairy producer, relocated in Coral Gables, a Latin American headquarters. We have also seen, and I met with folks from Latin America. We have a major international law firm that is now looking at our city to open up a small office, but eventually that grows. And it's a very prestigious law firm that is coming from Argentina. We have seen interest from Spain. And we have also seen interest also from Mexico and other places. There's companies in the financial wealth management that are in the process of opening up. But at this time, I cannot really get into the details because they haven't really given us the green light. And we confidentiality, that's extremely important to us here in the department.
And we've seen this. We've seen these projects in construction. We've seen ads. We've seen so much information going around, and it's very exciting for people outside of Coral Gables that just enjoy going to that community, and people within that community, businesses and residents, to see that city growth. We're just excited to be part of it, definitely.
Yeah. And the latest is ACI worldwide that is coming to Coral Gables. Is bringing in about 3-4 years, they'll probably have 182 employees, very high paying jobs. And they're moving to the plaza. And I think that we're looking at between 23 and 25,000 square feet, according to the reports. And we're looking forward to welcoming those new companies. And so in a nutshell, as you can see, I mean, we're seeing the growth. People are also moving to our city too. Again, that's something, the residential side of it is something that is very appealing because again, there's a basic foundation to our residential side as well as the rest of the city based on the City Beautiful movement. So if you look at all of that, and this is all happening within the next, the last 6 or 7 months.
Right.
And again, we're doing things to make sure that this type of growth is one that is managed and also provide opportunities, business opportunity, as well as job creation. And again, we wanted to make sure that everything that we're doing, okay, provides job opportunities, provides business opportunity, but the most important thing, that it brings equity to the picture. And that's why we're making so much emphasis in the technology side and making sure that the integration of technology help us, address all of that.
For sure. And I think we're gonna see the result of the hard work that you guys have put into this for the past year and a half. And Julian, that brings me to one last question. I wanna, based on everything that we've talked about, I wanna close this interview with some recommendations from you. You're inside the city, you're inside the economic development, you know what businesses are doing, you know what businesses want. What recommendations or what advice would you wanna share with small businesses or new businesses coming to the Gables to learn a little bit more about the community, to be a little bit more engaged, to utilize or take advantage of the resources that you guys offer? What recommendations do you have?
I think that there's 3 very important recommendations. Number 1 is see the department as a resource, okay? And it's for free. And there's a tremendous amount of knowledge in the department, okay? Number 2 is to make sure that you use all of the information that is available, that is out there available for you. Look at our business news, visit our site, you know, call us, talk to us directly. All of that is available to you. So the communication is very important. It's out there. Use it. Okay. And finally, look, don't be afraid of the process. Use the resources available. Stay engaged in your project.
For sure.
And see us, all of us, as resources. We're here to help you. We're your partners. We're your neighbors. We're your friends. All right. We'll be very honest with you. We'll listen to you, and we'll tell you, you know, this can be done. This cannot be done. This will take some modifications, and this is the process.
For sure.
But the resources that are available to you. That's my recommendation.
Awesome, Julian. We really appreciate your time sharing these insights with us. And I think it's really, really useful for us as a new business owners, as an entrepreneurs, and for anyone who's listening to this and watching this, because there's so many things that we're afraid of sometimes to go and talk to the cities, because we see it, like you said, we don't see, sometimes we see the city as a challenge, and instead of using it as a resource. So I think this is very helpful, and seeing, you know, the recovery and how you guys are managing, it's very, very useful. So Julian, again, thank you so much for taking the time and sharing all this information with us today.
You're quite welcome. It's always a pleasure seeing you. And it's always a pleasure. And I feel very, very proud and honored to have this interview with two young entrepreneurs. And, you know, guys, you're the future. And we're here again, and we're your resources to make sure that you succeed, as well as all of your colleagues. And with that, I wanted to thank you again on behalf of the department, on behalf of the administration, our Mayor Lago, and all of us that work here, for giving us the opportunity to come before you and your show, and to be able to let the community know who we are, what we have done, and that we're here as a resource.
Thank you very much. And thank you for everything you guys have done. And we'll see you guys next Tuesday at the next Coffee with Founders.
All right.